So for our inspirational character, our group decided to focus on Adolf Hitler. Now, this may be a controversial topic, but Hitler can indeed be seen as both a positive and negative inspiration. Hitler was born on April 20th, 1889 in Austria, Germany. After returning home as a decorated army veteran in World War I, he attempted a coup to seize power in Germany. He failed. He went to prison. He came back a stronger leader and succeeded in taking over Germany. Later on, thanks to him, Germany and the European Axis powers were able to control most of Europe and North Africa. Now, if you look at the fact that he did this basically out of nothing, you can indeed draw some positive inspiration from these actions. However, his regime was also responsible for the genocide of at least 5.5 million Jews and millions of other victims that he deemed were socially undesirable. Let's take a deeper look into his positive achievements and why he may be seen as a negative inspiration as well.
One of the many negatives that Hitler accomplished while in his tenure was that he publicly ridiculed the Treaty of Versailles, which was a treaty that had ended the First World War. And right after he was appointed the Chancellor of Germany in 1933, he passed the Enabling Act, which is literally just legislation to give Hitler power to the government he wasn't supposed to have, and that made him into a dictator. He was always power hungry. Like 10 years before, in 1923, he led a coup to overthrow the government in Munich, which he failed to do and was imprisoned for it. While he was incarcerated, he wrote Mein Kampf, which means My Struggle. The struggle was 2 volumes, one of his life and the other outlining his plans for the future of Germany. This future pitted the country against a common enemy, the Jews. Hitler literally talks about how he had no ill feelings towards the Jews at first, but he had no choice but to hate them based on when presented with facts. You can ask yourself, what are these facts? Basically, because the Jewish population in Germany was not allowed, wasn't hit as hard as the rest of the country during the Great Depression, that was his only reasoning, and that was because the Jews were not allowed to own land, so they couldn't farm, so they went to the city to become artisans. And when the farmers overworked their land and had their farms foreclosed, the Jews still had their stores with goods everyone needed, like clothes and shoes and like really finely made items. He made movies and other propaganda materials explaining why the Jews were the enemy and why they had to be taken care of. Now, during Hitler's genocide in Germany, 19.3 million civilians died. And because of his war rampage in Europe, over 29 million soldiers died. The Jews were not the only targets in the Holocaust. Hitler was known for believing in white supremacy. He supported the Aryan race of Caucasians. And not only did he think whites were supreme, he tried using scientific explanations on why whites were other races were the Untermenschen or below other humans. Hitler's Nazi Germany was one of the best examples of how low humanity can become.
Okay, so Hitler is renowned, he's infamous for basically a lot of negative aspects and things that he's done. For example, World War II, the concentration camps. But what people overlook is that there's a lot of positive inspirations that he's had. He's actually structured a lot of what modern day follows. For example, the Nazi organization under him organized soup kitchens which fed the hungry, and though it was mostly a youth movement, the Nazis, like the youth, was very encouraged to help out. They helped out elderlies, like shut-ins or cripples, people who couldn't move around, and this was assistance that the youth gave to those less fortunate and not able to do things normally. And this actually gave way for the modern day Boy Scouts of America that we have now today. For example, they had summer camps then, summer camps now, where the boys can get together and get away from reality and kind of learn to boost public welfare, how to help other people, how to conserve. The Nazis also supplied pensions for families of fallen soldiers and also organized orphanages. Other things that Hitler has done is that he has created a starving artists organization. He noticed, he himself being an artist and he liked to write, he created something where people who didn't get as much money could still have jobs and commission and get um, pay and get stuff for their work. For example, architects were also granted favors. There was a couple of charities that he helped in, and one was Winterhilfswerk, which was basically means winter help work that helped the Aryan unemployed, and there was also the Kraft Werkfreude, which aimed at providing cheap holidays for Aryan workers. And Hitler is renowned for being able, he's always photographed with all that these charities have done. He tries to be as involved as he possibly could. He was always smiling and happy that he was being a benefactor towards these. As well as the biggest thing he did was he brought Germany political peace. It was to the point where Germany was hit very hard with the Great Depression, actually harder than probably America was. They were running around with wheelbarrows trying to get like less the bank money, like that was their possessions at some points. They're trying to sell everything just to get back money. And he restored the economy. He created work for everybody, no matter who it was. He killed all unemployment. He had a 100% employment rate with zero inflation. So even if it was meager work, the people could still make a living when not have to worry about inflation and rising prices. He brought Germany out of the Great Depression this way, and one of the ways was with establishing the Autobahn. He wanted to create a network of roads designed to get you someplace faster without a speed limit, and this would help connect all of Germany, and that's what he did. He created the first freeway, basically, first highways. He was the first one to create it. It was the first system which revolutionized how humans would travel for ages to come. It has affected us today as well, because you get by all of the highways in America. They were all basically emulated based off of the Autobahn.
So, in conclusion, you can definitely draw some positive inspiration from Hitler through his actions and his methods. He was a phenomenal public speaker who was strong willed and worked for everything that he ever got. And finally, what he did for his country was unparalleled when looking at the actions of other dictators in his time and throughout history. However, the body count his methods had provided is why Hitler is seen as an overall negative inspiration by our group. The amount of suffering that he caused during and after the war simply cannot be overlooked.